Like, do you think overall, like the way construction is moving, that's improving, or do you feel like it's getting worse? Like people are cutting costs more, they're having a harder time finding skilled labor. Which one is it?
It's getting way worse. Skilled labor is very difficult. Buildings are, for the most part, commercial buildings are not simple sticks, bricks, HVAC. There's a lot that goes into these. And if you don't have the right guys putting the right things up, and I mean, how do you go find journeymen with a lot of experience?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of them. We don't have trade schools. Back when I'm old, I'm 50. And when we were in high school, we had trades, even our standard public schools, we had vocation training. All of us took welding and shop and all. I mean, you had to. And I was talking to my kids the other day. My youngest is in high school, the rest are grown. And she looked at me like I was insane, saying, yeah, you don't have, where's like the shop building at? She's like, what's a shop? And because of also the lack of agriculture based backgrounds, people who came from farms, ranches, wherever, even in towns, if they're not being trained by somebody, there's no training.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Builder's Bible. I'm actually joined here by Erik Guggenheim, who's been on our show previously, and it felt like 30 minutes wasn't enough. And so I wanted to continue to have a conversation with him because after we hopped off, he was like, man, I didn't even tell you any of the war stories I've seen. So if you guys recall, Erik is one of the owners or founders of Fiber Wrap and has had experience in this space for a long time. Erik, what were some, maybe it'll come back to you, but like, what were some of the things that you're like, we got to the end of the podcast, that you wish you could have shared on that initial show?
Oh, man, that's a tough one because there's just, when you've done as many products as we have all over the world,
yeah,
I mean, the weirdest things you could ever encounter. Construction is its own little world, and
yeah,
I hear stories from guys, and you're just like, there's no way, not even possible. And I just think about every time you get with guys, whether when you go to lunch and stuff, or meet new guys, somebody says something outlandish, you're like, oh, I think I've seen that, heard that. Or,
yeah.
There's no, in construction, there's no surprises. I mean, sometimes it's with employees, other times it's with the jobs itself.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many unforeseen, they can call it, in construction. And that's, as an owner, manager, all the different things that are the phases, project manager, superintendent, the ones are the best, the ones that can deal with the mega problems and not react.
Yep.
Because it's really easy to react when things go wrong, and that's a guarantee it will go wrong. When there's times when things don't go wrong, and you're like, man, what went wrong?
Yeah, I hear you. Well, you were talking about how sometimes buildings will have you come work on a project, and it's almost at a point where it's beyond helpful. So you were talking about how certain buildings, they've already had too much sag. And when you come in to try to do your analysis and kind of do the fiber wrap process, it's kind of past the point of repair or where your product would be helpful. Like, talk more about those types of situations.
Yeah. So one of the things that's super important when you're in a design build game like we are is recognizing when you can't fix the situation, and sometimes you just got to deliver listen, I know we want this to happen, but it's not going to happen. And two-part deal, you hate to turn down the opportunities, but you also the risk, I see too many guys put risk involved and profit involved whenever errors occur. And that's where you see things like some of these buildings falling down in Florida and other places. These things don't happen overnight. There's been a lot of people look at these, and it's like, who did not turn that red button on? Because this is not the first time this building has started to shift, or this is, we come in there and they say, well, yeah, but you can fix it. We're like, we can't fix it. We can slow it down.
Yeah.
But at some point, something's going to happen. And so for us, we just, I've always not to say that haven't done projects where we're like, man, I don't feel comfortable with this. But of course, you get indemnified by owners like, well, we want to do it this way. And then, okay, it's your tattoo. And so, uh, it's like a Facebook meme. But yeah, the construction industry it's a risk reward game, especially in the structural world. But at the end of the day, structural, we can't cross certain lines because it just the building envelope is too the catastrophic if something were to go wrong.
What do you think are some modern trends? I'll do this like two-sided question.
Yeah,
Do you think that's getting better? Like, do you think overall, like the way construction is moving, that's improving, or do you feel like it's getting worse? Like people are cutting costs more, they're having a harder
getting
time finding skilled labor. Which one is it?
it's getting way worse. You know, the skilled labor is very difficult. Buildings are for the most part, commercial buildings are not simple sticks, bricks, HVAC. There's a lot that goes into these, and if you don't have the right guys putting the right things up, and I mean, how do you go find journeymen with a lot of experience?
Yeah,
There's not a lot of them. There's
yeah,
we don't have trade schools. Back when I'm old, I'm 50, and when we were in high school, we had trades. Even our standard public schools, we had vocation training. All of us took welding and shop and all. I mean, you had to. And I was talking to my kids the other day. My youngest is in high school. The rest are grown, and she looked at me like I was insane, saying, "Yeah, you don't have. Where's like the shop building at?" She's like,
yeah,
"What's shop? What's?" And so you know, and because of also the lack of agriculture based backgrounds, people who came from farms, ranches, wherever, even in towns, if they're not being trained by somebody, there's no training. And we're about to see a real problem coming soon. And that's a double edged sword. When we talk about immigration, when we talk about all these things, that's a real double edged sword.
mm,
My favorite line is, I want a high quality product paid cheaply for. Who
mm.
doesn't? And so, you can't do that at, $45 an hour and want a 70 square foot per square foot building.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen.
It was
And
funny
so,
on that note. It's funny. So for my virtual assistant staffing company, we had this guy the other day who was like all hot to try. He's like, I need someone right now. And my sales guy was like, how do I deal with this? And I was like, text him this: fast, cheap, quality. Pick two. Which one do you want? That's exactly what he did. And the guy was like, yeah, yeah,
and so for us, it's a serious part of our world, is trying to figure out how do we train people because we're specialty trades. How do we train people to do what we do? Well, we end up having to start our own schools and very intensive training programs. A lot of investment. But at the end of the day, again, you're going to end up with one or the other. You're going to end up with quality or safety issues if you don't have properly trained, and they
yeah,
kind of go hand in hand. I've had so many jobs where were done correctly, but the finish was wrong.
yeah,
And it's like, we just did a unbelievable structural build, and you guys painted it, and your paint looks terrible. It has
yeah,
zero value to the job except the color. But that's all the owner sees.
yeah, yeah,
It's like they can't see all the sticks and stones and bones we built. All they see is, why are there brush strokes? Why don't you just spray it? Why is it the wrong color? It's like, oh God, for the love of God.
yeah.
The
Yeah,
easy
it's
stuff.
it's interesting. I don't know what I did. I clicked on one robot video, and all of a sudden, Instagram and Facebook are targeting me with all these like videos of robotics, which is actually kind of fascinating to me. And Elon thinks that the robot's going to be the biggest product Tesla's ever made, and I actually believe him because having run this podcast now for 3 months, I've talked to hundreds of construction guys, and dude, the skilled labor thing, robots are coming for that all day. I mean, they're not there yet, right?
Sure.
But
Yeah,
if you're
we're long
telling,
ways, but in some
yeah,
ways, what'll happen? I've seen it occur in my lifetime in the timber framing. Back in the day, like I said, I'm third generation contractor, so I've seen this since birth. As my granddad and those guys would go to the lumber yard, buy your 2x4 by whatever, bring it to the job site. Your drop at your job site would be these huge areas of wood. I mean, multiple haul offs, lots of stuff, and they're cutting them all on site as needed, all the yada yada. And then uh, my generation, they can almost use a residential dumpster for the drop in many of these projects these days because I mean, no one builds trusses. Every wood manufacturer says, "Hey, we're going to build the trusses almost in our mill because using robots, using machines, and so but there's no waste. I mean, almost very little waste. Just like I'll never forget whenever I'm not sure who it was who started selling two by fours pre-cut for your standard walls. That's why they're not 2x4x8. They're it's like, why is that such a weird measurement? Like, well, that's just when you put your bottom or your top, that's a standard deal. But they figured out by doing that, they saved a ton of money on a job on a framing. Now framing is, I mean, it's a cheap business. I mean, you can go. Simpson Strong Tie's made a fortune at this pre-made frame fasteners where you just slap them together and you're standing up a wall in no time. You're standing up walls. Now I'm always amazed when you watch residential construction, especially tract homes, how fast it goes from slab to laying sheet on. You're like, that's impressive. And
Yep.
robots do it again. A lot of that work. Robots are in factories nailing up nailers. Now,
Yeah, it's great. It's
and
crazy,
what
and the modular home is on the rise too, right?
what's that?
So the modular builds are on the rise too. Like a lot more companies doing the prefab stuff.
Yep. And that goes back to the same, that goes back to the topic at hand. Labor is always going to be the driver of technology and construction, or the cost
Yep.
thereof. Well, scarcity of labor causes that.
Yeah. What would be your advice for someone who's listening to this? Like, let's say I think about my audience. A lot of them some of them are residential. A lot of them are service, businesses. But like,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to them? Like, prepping for the future. Like, what either niches or targets should they be considering for their businesses?
The biggest shift in the market right now is going to be service. That's going to be, you know, at some point in time, you're going to have more. There's going to be more existing buildings needing to be serviced, whatever trade it is. Then there are going to be new builds. Go to any major city, and first they went horizontal, then they went vertical, and now they're having to repurpose vertical. And servicing these things is very difficult. Uh,
Mm.
HVAC to me is just one. HVAC is one of the, I'd call it probably the fastest growing businesses out there because of the shelf life of these units. Well, you can do the math behind it, and you look at, you know those of us who sit in think tanks and geek out for different groups, because there's a lot of investment groups are saying, hey, give us some formulas. And one of the biggest formulas I've used is look at how many units of Linuxes were sold at a certain time period. There are certain equipment manufactured at a certain time. You can go back over data and find out, how many houses were built. Well, you can literally trace that into the next business opportunity of, if every we do that in bridges and concrete have a 50 to 60 year shelf life. Well, the largest commercial boom was during the 70s, 80s, and then of course then after. So what we're seeing now is this shift in working on what was original to fixing it to fixing the fix, because they can't go tear them down. So
Mhm.
the ability to fix a fix is going to be a really big. I mean, look at your AC guys. How many old ACs are out there? People don't want to go spend 15. I mean, ACs are not cheap. New compressor and everything. I was looking at $15,000. Well, every house. I mean, which I love houses in the north and the northeast who think you don't need air conditioning. It still gets hot. But furnaces, I mean, so many building codes. You go to the parts of New York and stuff, and they're still using oil heaters. Well, that's going to be gone eventually.
Yeah.
And I mean and so having the ability to have trades that can come in there, remove those things, put in new units, and not have to just train wreck the space. That is an art and a niche, but it takes the right people who can do that.
Yeah. We talked about switching gears for a sec. We talked about something last time. We didn't really talk about it a lot, but you talked about the weighted cost of capital, which I haven't stopped
Yeah.
thinking about. Tell the audience what that is and why it's so important to understand.
So, you know, being a finance guy, my background in construction, I tell people good finance guys make good contractors because you know you're about to lose on the job before you start the job. Like this is not going to be good. Or B, you look at like, okay, we're making great money. We can. So the weighted average cost of capital has to do with debt. We all have debt, and I could geek out and show you what the formula is, but too many people don't look at what their cost it costs them to do business. And so your
Yeah.
dollar today is not your dollar tomorrow. And so you got to factor your debt. You got to factor all the different things in there and say, well, my price has to be built around what does a dollar to me cost me to deploy out to a project? It'd be nice if all of us had clients that, almost like a time and material, but that's not the reality. And so
Mhm.
whenever we're looking at the weighted average cost of capital, it's different at different parts of your business too. Whenever you have more debt
Yeah.
and less debt, if you miss those, and I've seen a lot of people go out of business because they missed that. It's not that they went bankrupt; they sold themselves out of business, or they sold themselves out of business at a price they were charging yesterday, grabbed a ton of work, and found out that it was costing. They weren't charging enough based upon what their dollar's worth to them, and that is it sneaks up on you real quick. Uh,
Yeah.
and if you have no debt and you're operating, that's also not a very good thing to do. Construction and Dave Ramsey don't go together. There's good debt and there's bad debt. And you know, if I teach a lot of my young people is we don't own this material. Many of our customers think that they're buying. We don't need. We don't. You're buying this from me, but this is not mine. And that's a real big concept to try to get people to understand is, hey, we're installing your need. Whether it costs a lot or little, that's not mine. And
Yeah.
too many people try to finance something that's not theirs. And I've seen it happen over and over and over where, whether it's buying too much or, just different things and that's where that cost of capital comes from is it's so important to teach your customer and your people that all of us, whether even if you're manufacturing, the end product is not ours. It was actually somebody else's. And so I've always worked really hard to get my clients to understand, hey, we need to have a payment system that you're buying this and you're paying me to put it together and install it. The whole thing is yours. It's not mine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I use an analogy, baking a cake. You go to the store and you buy a cake, flour, eggs, sugar, water, flavoring, everything else. You go to the bakery, buy the cake, you bought the same things. So why would somebody say, well, I'm going to buy the cake, but I don't want to buy the mix? It's just two ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
And
That's a
and I
great
think
word.
that's really important in construction to understand that and to teaching your customer is probably the most valuable thing I've ever learned to do.
Yeah.
Educating your customer on what they're doing with you in your business.
Yeah. I was just thinking about a quote I saw the other day, changing subject a little bit, but I think it was either Grant Cardone or Gary Vee or one of these like thought guys. They're like the next generation of millionaires are going to be plumbers and electricians, because of these
Already
data
happening.
centers.
Already,
Yeah.
I've got so many young guys that have worked with us or do anything else that are running solid businesses, making sick good money, uh, doing these things. And my daughter's at CSU getting a architecture degree, but a construction management degree. And I said, listen, I said, you don't need to know how to build anything. You need to learn how to manage a lot of people to do things that nobody wants to do. And I said, you do that, you'll kill it out there because you know we pay the most for the stuff we don't want to do. And like I said, electricians. I mean, I am scared to death of electricity. There's one thing I do not like electricity. It's silent, it's deadly, and I know nothing about it. And when you talk to electricians, like, oh, it's this, you're like, that sounds great. I have no damn clue what you're talking about, nor do I want to touch it to figure this out.
Yeah.
Even in home remodel projects, I see a wire, I'm like, nah, call electrician. And if he charges me whatever, I'm like, what it is. It's
Yeah.
like, because I don't want to do that. Or your plumbing, it's like your
Yeah.
plumbing stopped up, your wife or whatever ticked off. Are you going to go out there and go rent a snake? You can, but
Yeah.
most people are not.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
oh, steps back. Hey, Clark, shooter's full. It's like Clark did
Yeah.
not go out there with a snake. Clark called the guy and he charged whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
And there's this summer. I'm a big fly fisherman, and I was fly fishing in Colorado. Had bought a brand new RV. Never used it. First day out, they didn't assemble it correctly, and water was leaking everywhere. A giant mess day one. And I called the manufacturer, and they sent. I don't know where this person came from, middle of nowhere, Colorado. They sent somebody, and this retired couple has an entire business of servicing plumbing and heating AC on ACs. I mean, on RVs. They charge like $300 an hour. You have no choice. And they are like, we are busy. They're like, we're making more money retired than we ever made in our career. And this, we took our skill sets and made a little niche out of it. And we live in a cool place and service RVs around Colorado. And I'm like, that's insane. They go, wish we had known
Good
this.
for them.
We would have been here in our 20s, not our 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day, but someone was talking about AI and like how it's coming for everything. And I'm like, not for people who are creative. Like if you have an ounce of creativity, you've just been handed a lotto ticket. And so like that couple is a great example. Cut in, cut out for 25, 30 years, punch a clock, and just a little bit of creativity, like slightly outside the lines of a traditional job,
Mhm.
and there's this whole economy that, is paying them $300 an hour. That's insane.
It was great because, like I said, both this husband and wife worked at RV, like one of the big RV places. They knew everything about all these models for 20 something. And that was what was cool. They're like, we were in that business for so long to retired. We've seen a gazillion of these trained from every manufacturer. So now doing it ourselves, we know exactly where everything is. I'm like, there's AI can't do that part. And
That's
like,
true.
and one thing that AI can't do, AI can't determine a cause of a problem. It tells you ideas, but and it kind of gives you the advice of it. I'm trying to how to better say it. This in my case, it was a loose solenoid in a heater, whatever. So it was leaking. It was installed, but it was never cranked down. Well, you could look at pictures and stuff and uploading to AI. AI can't say, "Oh, that's missing that solenoid piece." It's there. It doesn't know that it wasn't cranked hard enough.
Yeah.
So, um, the very first time I saw AI truly work was in 2011 when I was in graduate school at Harvard. BMW brought in one of their augmented reality specialists, and this is way pre AI, and using augmented reality on their glasses, and they have these glasses that the technicians put on, and they can rebuild an entire BMW engine and never gone to mechanic school a day in their life.
Mm.
Unbelievable how it worked. And they did that because of their native shortage of trained mechanics was, hey, here's these glasses, and it sees how many times you're cranking. And, of course, you got to use the tools and stuff, but it says, hey, this is a 13 millimeter, whatever, as you're looking at it. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. But at the same time, it doesn't know at the end, how hard did you crank that thing?
Yeah.
Well, it says 13 foot-pounds.
Yeah.
It can't do that for you.
Yeah. All right, last question. So if you are a contractor out there, you're a construction guy, how would you be leveraging AI? Like I talk to a lot of guys, there is some hesitance to start picking it up. I talk to them and they're like, oh yeah, I'm using AI. I'm like, what? And they're like, I talk to ChatGPT all the time. Like, that's not, there's so much more that we could be doing, but what would you be doing right now to leverage it?
You know, the thing I use AI for right now is understanding markets and trends in markets. I tell people never use AI for pricing. I hear guys like, well, what's the average price in this market? There's so many variables of construction, but I do use
Yeah.
AI and say, what are the trend? Government spending's been cut by this much. What percentage of that is being allocated in the construction side? And it says, oh well, and it gives me trends of projects in the history that have been cut, and it's like, okay, we don't need to be chasing dormitories in the history. I use it a lot for forecasting of parts industry segments I'm in, because before we'd spend a fortune to hire analysts to do that. These guys are doing it in seconds on Grok, whatever. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I got to take the data and do something with it. But AI to me I'm still new to what it can do in construction because I'm hesitant on estimations. I've seen it work on estimations,
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's based around manpower. At the same time, you get it harnessed right. Vegas. There's a reason Vegas is Vegas. It doesn't lose. It's been using quote unquote AI for a long time with really smart mathematicians and whatnot. Same thing. And if you're not trying to use it, you're going to get behind.
Yep.
Can I tell you
What?
what to do with it? No. I can tell
Yeah.
you if you're not trying to figure it out though, because like I said, the creativity piece of AI, AI to me is a blank canvas with a. It's like having an arsenal of every weapon ever made, and it's just sitting there. Like, what do you do with it? Don't know. You pick the gun that you need for the war you're in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. One of the things right now, because I own an AI agency, so I kind of know what's hot. But it's having an AI employee. It's like if you really wanted to be like I'm with it. It would be some sort of AI, which is an AI agent. And the one that I talk to a lot of commercial construction guys for at least is the estimation agent. So
Yeah.
there's a guy in North Carolina, for instance. This is a really cool story. He's right outside Fayetteville, so he works with the military. And, he basically, we're going to build out an AI estimation agent. It takes in the plans, it generates the estimate, it sends it to him for approval, it generates the contract, the proposal, and then it follows up with the client every 10, 15 days until they tell him to pound sand or move forward. One of the really cool things that we're going to do with this, though, is because he finds his jobs on government contractor sites where they're posting things for him to bid on. So we're actually going to go scrape opportunities. And one thing that was so cool is this is not only going to save him time, energy, and resources, it's going to get him more at bats. And again, at the end of the day, it's like how many projects can you bid on, right?
Yeah.
Um, so still in process, but I'm excited about that one. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's there's some things I've been working on, trying to figure out. A lot of stuff we're working on. I don't know if it works or not, in the sense of it seems to be. But the other thing is you always got to watch out for. And I give this speech a lot to my team. Don't get lost in the AI weeds. Sometimes just go do your job, and you can death by numbers happens a lot with AI because it can give you more than you need, and it's
yeah,
interesting and it's cool and it's great and it's a lot of things. But at the end of the day, one of my vice president the other day, he goes, "Man, I got in the rat hole. You asked me to look for that product. I got into this. I'm signed up for a World of Concrete meeting. That." And I go, "Did you get a price?" He goes, "No, I haven't got a price yet. But listen, I got to sign up for all this stuff." Right.
yeah,
I still need the number. They're all the same.
yeah.
And one fun thing that you should ask everybody is, worst blunder on a job site.
That's a good one. I like
Worst,
that. I'm gonna start doing that.
what's
Well,
the
go ahead.
worst? And you can even go personally and say, "What's the worst thing's ever happened to you on a job site?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you asked. I'm curious.
So this was about, gosh, 20 something years ago. I was a young Thundercat project manager down in a job in San Marcos, Texas, and we were doing a bunch of epoxy joints in a big parking garage. And I made a little scratch, and went and bought myself a first new Tahoe and all the things, and showing up, with the new hard hat and all that stuff. Because now I'm boss man, and so I'm running this job, and I don't remember the number of units, but these three to 5 gallon units, and there's probably 20 on the job. And my guys are cranking away, and one of the guys comes like, "Hey, boss, we're out of materials, and we're not even close to being done." I'm like, "You're not out of materials. Did you leave a back rod out? I mean, you understand? Like we're on like the second floor of like 5 floors. It's impossible for it to be out." We get back and arguing, and I'm like, "I'm telling you, something's wrong." And I go up third floor and look, there's cans everywhere, and I'm like, "There's got to be a hollow, something, the slab. No, boss, we drilled, we checked." My guys, this stuff does not vaporize and disappear. I'm telling you, it doesn't disappear. And it's called MP1. It's a big flowable, and I am just they mix one up for me. They shoot it in there, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on here?" And anyways, I'm just perplexed. I'll go downstairs 2 floors to my new little red Tahoe that has a window open, and there's about 25 gallons of epoxy leaking through the roof, leaking through the slab, into my truck, over the top of my truck, inside, completely covered because there's a backer rod wasn't installed right, and of all. I mean, went straight. I couldn't have parked in a worse.
Right on your brand new car. Insult to
brand
injury.
new. I'm like 30 years old, 25 years old. I was just like, so, which goes to my second favorite story. The same job, same minute. One of the guys comes over and they're like, "Oh, God, this," and I'm like, and I'm just pissed. I'm like, "Would you go grab that damn ladder and go grind over there? Go catch up with him later." I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's grinding the ladder. I'm like, he said, "You said take the ladder and go grind." I go, "Not the damn ladder, the concrete. We grind concrete. That's what we get paid to do." When he was grinding the ladder, he was just grinding the hell out of that ladder. Like, what?
Unbelievable.
I'm quitting, I'm firing, and I'm going to jump off the 5th story today. Today's the day I go.
I love
So,
that.
those are the kinds of, and everybody's got them. I mean, everybody has them. It's kind of like whenever you buy furniture from online and you put it together and you realize that it's back, the panels are the wrong side out. You're like, oh, no, man, you got to start all over again.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again for coming on the show, guys. Once again, Erik with Delta Structural Technology, and this is his second go around because he had so many great things to share. Erik, don't go anywhere yet. I want to keep chatting, but thanks so much for coming on the show.
You bet.